sponsored by VP Bank, so thank you very much for your contribution. I will be introducing our moderator, and then Mr. Ross, right, will introduce Ms. Lisa and Violet. So Tanya Warner, those of you who attend HLSCC certainly know her. She is a 17-year-old native of St. Kitts and Nevis, currently in her second year at H. Stout, where she's pursuing an associate degree in human services. With aspirations of becoming a criminal psychologist, Tanya is committed to understanding and helping individuals in need. In her role as Vice President of the Student Government Association, she actively advocates for her peers and works to enhance student life on campus. Thank you, Tanya, to be here today.
Thank you, Tanya, and welcome everyone. Pleasure for you all to be here to take part in today's fantastic session with the thematic More Than Words, I believe. Today I have the pleasure of introducing your key speaker. I am a relationship manager with VP Bank, the proud sponsor of this chat today. I've worked across several continents, and one of the ways I want to introduce our speaker is to describe my background. When I was 17 years old, I sat with a guidance counselor. Her name was Patrina Mitchell. We spoke about where I wanted to go. I said, banking, not knowing what banking was. She said, where would you like to work? I said, international would be cool. Then she said, what would you like to do there? Again, no idea. Patrina went through various segments of the banking industry, and she started to talk about roles. Again, I wasn't too sure what a role was. It was a title. A title could be a graduate, an analyst, an associate, a vice president, a senior vice president. You could work in audit or risk. You could sit in the C-suite as a chief. Ms. Violet, you have had all of those roles. You have had a colorful career across 4 continents. You have reached the pinnacle in what most would say across various industries, and it is a pleasure for us to be here with you. Miss Violet sat in your seat. She had aspirations. She had drive. She has had some incredible accolades. She was voted top woman in finance, in fintech in 2021. She was the chair of the American Bankers Association, the first woman in 145 years. She assisted in her last role for the first fintech in the US to gain a banking charter. Her resource to the BVI is fantastic. Her job here is to increase the financial security in the British Virgin Islands through the Deposit Insurance Fund in VIDIC. She is here for all of us, not just the financial services sector where I work, but she's here for the grassroots. She is a commodity which we all should use, and we welcome you. Ms. Violet, thank you so much for being with us, and I know we are all looking very much forward to your thoughts.
Thank you, Eastern VP Bank, for sponsoring this, and what a wonderful introduction. When you hear what you've done in your career played back, it sounds like, wow, I did all of that. And really, it's just me showing up doing what I love. And I want to turn the light on to Tanya Warner, who I'll be doing this fireside chat with. The audience here are students, and you all are the future. Rosa and I, we were in your seat once, as he said. And I'm now where I am, looking back at myself, looking at you. And we definitely wanted to orchestrate this around youth and experience, and not just me mentoring the audience and Tanya, but reverse mentorship. Because you all are new frontiers that us who've been and walked need to learn new things as well. So it's symbiotic, this exchange, We are going to have room for questions and answers. At least two of you in the audience, think about a question you want to ask based on what you've heard today or what's burning inside of you to ask, okay? So with that, I want to turn it over to Tanya.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tanya Warner, and it's a pleasure to have you all here joining me for this fireside chat with Miss Violet. And I'm excited to dive into the topic on words matter. So first, I want to ask Miss Violet, let's talk about your professional journey and what led you to pursue the career path that you're on, and were there any challenges that may have arisen, and how did you navigate them?
Happy to talk about the journey. So when I was around your age, I did not imagine that my journey would bring me to this place. To be CEO of the Virgin Islands Deposit Insurance Corporation, serving the financial security and confidence of the market and for consumers. And it's a beautiful region. Like, I just pinch myself that I'm here. It was a combination of determination, I would say, and learning, and a belief in the power of knowledge that got me here. It's all about being curious and following the crumbs of a cookie. And I would say I didn't really have obstacles, because I really have not had obstacles in my life. What I've had are challenges and things that what may seem like an obstacle are really just opportunities of growth and understanding and navigating through whatever. So I've never had the mindset of challenges, and that may sound a bit Pollyannic, but it's true. I have yet to have a bad obstacle come my way. I just don't look at it that way. But I think my journey has been about determination and learning, always learning new things. The reason why the career path sounds so like it's meandering, it's actually a journey. We say in Spanish, caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. And what that means is there's no path. Each of us, the path happens when we walk it, we create it. That's our life's journey. And that really has been my career. And the arch of that career, I did start off as an accountant. And I love numbers. I was really good at calculus. I was in calculus since I was 13 years old in school. I just couldn't get enough. I would dream numbers. And it just led me eventually to accounting. And that accounting gave me the world. My father said to me, do accounting, Lisa. You're a woman. So if you happen to have a child or two, you can get in and get out your career. Do whatever you want to do, because accounting is always needed. And it's a universal language. And he was right. I started in Canada as an accountant. I went down to Chile with PricewaterhouseCoopers. And that was when it was the capital markets darling of the world in the late 90s. And I came back to Canada after that. And I really just wanted to get back to Latin America after living there for a few years. And I couldn't go back to PwC in Canada. I went back there. They were putting me on path to partnership just at the age of 27. I thought, that's wonderful, but I don't want this long term. And I had to, at 27, make a decision. And I decided to leave public accounting, which had been really good to me. And the firm had been wonderful to me. And I switched over to banking. And I started with Scotia Capital. And I was a corporate banker. There were about 7 women out of 300 corporate bankers in Scotia at the time. I did not see that as an obstacle, because Scotia was my ticket to get back to Latin America, because they were Canada's most international bank, and that was my goal. My goal was to get back to Latin America. I'm talking about my camino, my journey here. It wasn't about, I want to get this rung of the ladder, I want to get this role, I want to get this accolade. I just wanted to go to where I was feeling joy. And I did not end up going to Latin America. I ended up being sent to the United States, thinking that would only be for a couple years, but it ended up being a 20-year period. And in that journey of 20 years is when I transitioned from being a corporate banker to basically general management track in banking overall. And I have been at every type and size of bank, not because I can't hold down a job, but it's because my career has been always helping organizations in transformation, new topics, and following what calls me. So I had 20 years really of a wonderful career globally, and I pivoted over into the tech sector because I was starting to notice that everything was tech-enabled, and I thought, I should maybe go into the tech sector. And people are like, well, you're kind of old at your level to try to switch careers to be your chief auditor here in banking. You're going to try to be a chief auditor in the tech sector. They're going to say, you don't have the industry. Tanya, that wasn't an obstacle. I thought, can I connect this dot? Oh, I know. I'll go to a tech company that's Japanese. How could that be? Well, 10 years of my 20 years in banking were with Japanese companies. So that's how I'll present myself, as somebody understanding Japanese culture, and it doesn't matter what industry I just came from. And I put myself out in my network and said, this is my dream and my goal. This is the transition I want to make. And it happened as easily as that. Easily as deciding. Easy as, what's my goal here? Easy as going on an adventure. So that's how I made that transition to tech sector, and that's what eventually brought me to fintech, which is the marriage of finance and technology. And I find myself here now in the British Virgin Islands at the inaugural Virgin Islands Deposit Insurance Corporation, which is here to cover consumers up to $100,000 in their bank accounts and to help banks if they get into trouble so that there's stability. And I was talking earlier today with Rosa from VP Bank and also with their CEO here, and these are people that speak my language and I speak theirs, and we're all here to serve you here in this room. So in a nutshell, my journey has been one of learning, of curiosity, going twists and turns that don't seem so obvious, but it's all been the same job all along. And I'm a little older than most of you in this room, but I have to say, I'm still young at heart and I'm still only just getting started. Because apparently, we're all gonna live till we're 90 years old. So we gotta make sure we stay fresh and forever keep on learning.
That's great, that's great. From what I heard, it sounds like you're a very optimistic person, and that's wonderful. Based off the introduction that he gave, it sounds like leadership is very complex in your experience. So what do you think are some critical skills that you think an effective leader needs, and particularly, especially in this type of society that we live in?
Yeah, there are 5 things that I absolutely believe are essential for leaders. And I'm a CEO, but leadership is in all of us, in whatever our sphere of influence is, whatever our station and position in life is, and we even lead ourselves. So the 5 things, and I'll just do the list first, and then we'll just double down into 1 or 2 of them. But the 5 things I think are essential for leadership, first and foremost, vision and strategic thinking. We are our thoughts. Our thoughts become words, our words become actions. It really just begins with a thought. And how big is that thought? Are we going to think big or are we going to think small? Are we going to think new thoughts or think the old thought? But basically, strategic thinking is at the core because you help to develop a vision for the future. The other one is communication skills. The power of our voice, and our voice matters, and the words we use matters, because those words are a reflection of our thoughts and the actions and the impact we want to make. So the power of your voice, and to me, the only way to get that power of the voice and words is through literacy. I mean, literacy, there's no way around it. People talk about the greatest invention is ChatGPT or the cell phone. I tend to disagree. I think the most incredible invention was in 1440. Does anybody know what happened in the year 1440? Any takers? It was the year the printing press began. Prior to that, we told stories, we had paintings in caves, but literally the printing press, and that was the advent of all that we are benefiting from today. Back then, as people say now with today, oh, the world's gonna go awry with the ChatGPT and the cell phone because, you know, this, that, and the other in the old ways. People said that about paper. The plebeians, oh my God, they're going to have their own thoughts. What is aristocracy going to do? Literacy is power. And nothing other than a book gives you power. You don't have to go anywhere. I've literally been everywhere in the world except Equatorial Guinea. And I don't even need to get on a plane or get on a boat. I just need to pick up a book. My mother's career was based on books. She never finished high school. She was born in 1924. She was always to be found in a mango tree in Trinidad reading books. And when I say she was well-read, she was well-read. I have her collection of Shakespeare in our safety deposit box. That book has been around that my mom had since the 1930s. It represents so much for me and our family because that book gave her the world. She was the first woman to she was the first black air hostess of a subsidiary of British Airways in the 50s. She landed in New York, and she just wanted to get on a plane, and she was inspired by Eric Lindbergh, the flyer. He had come to Trinidad at the base there, and she said, I want to be up in the sky. That'd be like people today saying, I want to be in outer space. I want to join Elon Musk. I want to go to SpaceX. So that is an idea and a thought, but books gave her that adventure and curiosity. So words matter in every sense of the word, and I really think communication is critical. The building blocks of communication is from literacy. And literacy itself is in all forms. Reading, writing, that cell phone, listening to others, podcast, just thinking, and sometimes not thinking at all, and the words come. But ultimately, our expression is words. Another leadership skill is adaptability. And more so than ever, we all have to be adaptable. Things are always changing, that's always for certain, but the pace of change is at a clip that if we're not careful, we're going to get totally stressed out or not. So when things get a little crazy, I think about my mindset. Am I adapting? Am I hitting myself against the wall because I'm trying to keep with how I thought it should be? But I think adaptability is key. And I want to weave in a little bit about financial literacy here, because again, all literacy matters, including financial literacy. And you would think, is Lisa making a big stretch here? It's actually not a stretch. My thoughts reflect my words turn into action and power, and me self-actualizing and giving impact. I have to understand those words. I also have to understand finance and money. It may not seem so obvious, but your relationship with money reflects your relationship with yourself. If you don't value yourself, you just give yourself away to others. Why would you do that? If you value yourself, you take care of business, and you put a little bit aside, you give yourself self-care. Financial literacy is really wanting in the world. And if you really want to self-actualize, the words you tell yourself about money will determine your future. And that future could begin with as little as $100 a month. The sooner you start putting aside for yourself with money is your commitment to yourself. Words matter, and so does putting aside money. I'm really underscoring this because the new skills that we have to adapt. And with financial empowerment, we also need to have that in tandem. Otherwise, we're not going to realize our dreams. I hate to say it, but it is true. Money makes the world go round. But money is just a reflection of what? Tanya, do you know what money is a reflection of?
No, I don't. Please enlighten me.
Really? Well, it's time. We work, we get paid, or we take the time to invest in capital and it gives us a return. And that time could be wasted or it could be put into good use. I don't fuss about money. Money will take care of itself, but I fuss about the importance I give of what I give energy to. And when I look at my actions and impact and my relationship with money, they kind of all come together. And because there are twists and turns, we could lose it all very easily. And this is, again, why we can't attach too much to anything. So part of what has helped me, and I've been in economies that have totally fallen apart, where the dollar value went from 2 to 1 to the US dollar to 6 to 1, and it happened in Trinidad, it happened in Chile. And I have friends and family that have been in economies where it all went to pot. But that spirit of starting again and reading and learning and understanding and getting hope. So the ability to communicate that, the ability to have strategic vision, the ability to follow your dream and do things are all important leadership quotients. The fourth one is working under pressure. Actually, some of you in this room have to plan your classes. That could be a source of pressure. What do I choose? Some of you may be getting ready for university or your exams, and even small decisions can be overwhelming. And I think it's a very important skill to have is to manage yourself under all sorts of scenarios of stress, little things and big things. Because how I respond to small things will just get exacerbated by the big things that may happen. So don't discount learning that skill, even on the little things. And the last skill, and maybe this is not a skill, it's just character, but leadership does require integrity. Earning trust, because trust is how we get along in the world with others, with our loved ones, and in the business world. And the integrity is something that, if you're not careful, you could lose it very easily. A bad relationship, a bad decision, or you do something wrong, and it's really what you do when no one's looking. I talk about integrity because when you look around the world today, we do have a crisis of integrity and leadership. And I've been working with companies for a long time that are in trouble, and a lot of the times, you could always get out of a bad situation, but you cannot get out of a situation when there is no trust and there's no integrity. And you can have nothing, but if you have your good name, you can start all over again. So to recap, and I did spend some time on this, the 5 critical things I believe for leadership are as follows: vision and strategic thinking, communication skills, adaptability, more now than ever, being able to make decisions and coming from the right place, and last of all, having integrity for your brand of trust.
Well, from what you just said, a few things that really stood out to me is when you said having great communication skills, and I feel like I often suffer with this. So I don't know if anybody in the audience may suffer with this as well, but what are some advice that you would give to people who, struggle with communication skills?
So the first building block is definitely having basic grammar and nouns, right? So nouns are the colors of the painting, and the grammar are the lines that you fill those colors in. And this comes back to just basic reading and writing. And then you get the confidence. Do like what you did. you step into things like you're a leader at the SGA, you have to communicate to do that, right? You have to inspire, you have to have an idea, you have to lead others, and you have to lead yourself. And stepping into roles, student leadership roles, doing that extra project at home, or with your friends, at school, that's where you get to practice communicating in terms of speaking. And then the other thing is, use the tools that are out there. I'm a big proponent of using technology and ChatGPT, but be careful with those tools as well, because if you don't have the building blocks yourself, you may not be able to discern if what you have there is right or wrong. And also, they make errors, and nothing kills credibility and trust than a poorly crafted communication or email, or a poorly expressed exchange in a tense moment. So do pay attention to the details in terms of accuracy. If it's something very important, sleep on it, review it, and then send it the next day. And in terms of communication, practice for whatever it is you're going to do for something that's big. And I once went to a yoga retreat, and it was a silent retreat. And the one key takeaway, and I have used it in my business life ever since I got inspired by this. The instructor, and this was for high-powered business people, and we all were like overbearing, every last one of us. And we had to be in this silent retreat, and it was really difficult after the 7th hour. But anyway, long story short, what we got out of that 4-day retreat was the best preparation, and the best preparation to speak when it happens, is to be present and listening to what's going on. Because a lot of times we prepare to communicate by preparing the words that we want to share and give. And we may not even realize it, but we're not actually communicating. We're in a monologue versus a dialogue, or what we were going to say, or write, or express is no longer relevant based on what's happening right here and now. So the best form of communication is get those building blocks, put yourself in situations and scenarios to practice it, and to be present in that moment whenever you're communicating. And that will give you your best preparation to then what do you express based on that. And we just finished the US election, so I could talk freely now. But if anybody watched the debate of Trump and Kamala Harris, words matter, and also what you do not say is also a strong communication. But being present, it's a subliminal thing, and it's where trust is made or it's broken. I'm asked a question, what would you do different if you were the President of the United States? I would do blah, 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 blah. There wasn't even a second of pretending that I'm going to stop and reflect and hear the question that was asked and I'm going to answer it. She lost me right there and then. I literally I was what you call a switch hit. I could vote either side, but that trust and integrity, because there was not even a second of reflection, means that that candidate was not even interested in being present and listening to what was being said. Think about what I just said there. There may be people that they're like, how are they doing so well, whatever. And if you really watch the very successful people closely, they're exceptional listeners. I am not a good listener. That's what I have to work on. And no better role than a CEO to learn how to listen, because you have so many stakeholders. And again, something that I need to work on, I'm in a role that's going to help me flex that muscle. But I bring it up because trust is something that does not have words, but it's felt. But it's words that then convey that trust and integrity. So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you so much. I do have one more question. You spoke about adapting. I do think that change is... Sorry. I do think that change is hard.
It's
Okay,
Tanya,
sorry.
Tanya, don't be sorry. This is actually a wonderful moment. So let's take a breath. So feel the moment right now. What's really on your mind to ask me right now? Forget the script. Take a minute. Don't answer. Don't do a Kamala. Give it 2 seconds. Am I really asking you a moment? This is really an important question. Take just a few seconds and feel within yourself, and it could be any question you want to ask. It has nothing to do with this script and words that matter. You and I are together, just you and I right now. What's the one thing, person to person, you want to ask me?
How can a person adapt to change? I know change is very hard. So what I want to ask, my question is, how do you do it? Like, can you go a bit more in depth about how do you adapt to change?
Yeah, how I adapt to change is by a mindset and choice. You could be a young person and not be adaptable at all. You could already be set in your ways and think that you know everything. You could be a very old person that's still learning, and all the things in between. So I think that's the first, is just being open to what we don't know, and that's the first thing. Adapting to change. The other is put yourself in there. I've purposely put myself in situations where I've had to change, whether it be changing companies, changing countries, sometimes changing relationships. But always putting myself in situations where I'm forced to grow. The other way to adapt to change, and it's here, is keep a barometer of what's happening. The news, what other people are talking about, listening to music, or just getting a book. What book is selling now? What's being written about? But these are all examples of how you could get the tools to adapt to change. And sometimes it's okay as well to take a time out and just have so much sensory and change agency overload that the best thing that one can do is bow out for a while. I did bow out in my career in 2008. I took 9 months off just to be with my son, who was starting kindergarten. I dropped him off the first day at kindergarten, and I bawled in the car. And I was like, what's that all about? And I drove into the office, and I was listening to myself. I had been working really hard, and I needed a change, and I was doing so much change agency work that I was exhausted. I needed to have space to be emotionally present for my son. So I processed all that, driving over the Bay Bridge in San Francisco, and I went into the office, and I gave my notice right there and then. They're like, are you serious? I said, yeah, but I'm giving you like 3 months notice so we can have a smooth transition, but I'm going to take some time out. And I went back to the company after 8 months with actually a bigger, better job and more money. I thought, oh, this is a strategy. So, but the point is that change agency also can be very overwhelming, and it's okay as well to take some time out so that when you do come back, you get to choose what you want to lean into for growth, and you come back stronger than ever. Stronger, stronger, stronger than ever.
Thank you so much for telling us about these effective skills that a person should have as a leader. I hope you guys were taking notes. Can anybody give me at least one skill she mentioned?
Integrity.
Yes. And what does integrity mean to you?
Integrity means, integrity means like being able to, it's kind of similar. I feel like integrity and adaptability are kind of similar in a way, because you need to be able to adapt to have integrity towards things, and being able to be truthful and honest with yourself. And yeah.
That's nice. Does anybody? Leadership. And what does leadership ship mean to you?
To be able to, I wouldn't want to use the same word, to be able to have people follow you. But I feel like in order to be a proper leader, you have to have all the other skills. They all go hand in hand in a nutshell. So yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Now, let's talk about why words matter. And before you get in depth about it, have you ever been faced or have you ever been in a position where you're choosing the right words, whether it was in a meeting, a personal interaction? Can you share?
Well, yeah, words matter because it's how we convey and give ideas and paint a picture or whatever. I have to say that in terms of situations, just being prepared for what's being said, what I want to say is, one thing I've noticed is, we have one common language, which is English, but there are different forms of English. I grew up in the West Indies, but I'm from Canada, and then I made my career in the United States, and then I spent half of it in Asia with institutions there. Now I'm here in the BVI. What I want to say about words is it's not just what is said, but the societal and cultural context of those words and how it's expressed. So when I first went from Canada to the US, I think that was my most challenging with respect to using my words, because in Canada, it was more indirect, polite language, and you kind of walk away a little bit because developing the relationship is very important. So you have to break the ice, and oh my God, 10 minutes can go by, you haven't gotten to business yet. I was a corporate banker at the time, and when I first got there, I'd been hugely successful in Canada. I got sent to the US, and at first I was having real difficulties. And it turned out that I didn't cut to the chase, and the Americans like it direct and be done, be quick, and be gone. So I had to not only change my words, I had to change my relationship with the society that I was in, because I kind of grew up basically in a colonial culture, Commonwealth culture, where the language, I would say, is more British English, right? And Asian English, which is about saving face and being very cordial. Literally in America, bang, 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 bang. And on top of that, I have a really messed up accent. And when you're trying to close on a deal or hunt for business, you can't have anything stand out because you don't want anything to be a distraction. So I kind of assimilated how I looked and how I spoke in order for my words to count and not have any bias against it. And big secret here revealed. The bank I was with spent tens of thousands of dollars and sent me to a speech pathologist to get rid of my accent. And people would today say, oh, that's so prejudicial, they didn't let you be yourself. No, I didn't want to be myself. I wanted to close on deals, right? So, and whatever it will take for me to assimilate. And when you look at people that are on broadcasters doing the 7 o'clock news, those are the people that were with me in that speech pathologist room. They are there getting rid of their southern accent or somebody just trying to be relatable to a broad audience. So words matter, but the context also matters, and the energy and how we express them also matters. And that speech pathologist thing, it's only been in the last decade that I have come back to try to get not my voice from Trinidad, not my voice from Canada, not my voice assimilating in Asia or America. For the first time, this accent, these words and how I express them is Lisa's words. Nobody else's words. It's the tapestry of my life. And when I open my mouth and my accent, I love that it's a hodgepodge of many things. And I have been all over the world to get to this. And there's one other thing, which is a metaphor. I never knew what my favorite color was until I was 36. I used to think my favorite color was green because my best friend from since I was small, her favorite color was green. I didn't even know what my favorite color was. My aunt in New York sent me a beautiful sky blue top, and I put it on, and for the first time, I knew what my color was. Like I felt the color. You may say, that lady at the front is a crazy lady. She's talking about colors, we're talking about words. Words matter because they're the expression of ourselves. That to me is, and so when you talk about, I'm in situations and I don't know what to say and all of that, like earlier you couldn't find your words, but you just have to stop and get recentered and then the words come back out again. But that metaphor of what's my favorite color and what is my real accent? Is it something affected? Is it somebody else's words and how it's said? Or how do I get my own voice, my own journey? I'll give you one other thing in Spanish, and it's a saying, is somos más auténticos en el momento que somos lo que imaginamos. We are authentic the moment we become what we always dreamed we wanted to be. That's a Moldovar Spanish director. This is literacy. I'm taking literacy of film, and that literature, that art spoke to me. That when I watched that film was when I decided I'm going to have Lisa's own accent. And the words, I started to speak my own words, my own truth. That became my color blue. And just paint this metaphor. In my career, I have always been doing stuff for others, and I've loved it. But I wanted to do something finally in my career for a place that mattered to me, which is the Caribbean Sea. I have come back home to the Caribbean after being gone for 40 years. And I can't begin to share with you what joy it is for me to be in this room. I'm getting a little teary-eyed right now. I did not have to be here, but something brought me here. And I really think it's an honor to be here in the BVI, a place that has to adapt with all things around it having to change a lot, and in a language that I love, which is money and finance. That's my calculus. There's no secret about it. I love money. And I love adding it and subtracting it, and I love reporting on it, and I love it multiplying. I love it multiplying for everybody. So I want to end with this. Career, leadership, we each have our journey. Please, youth here in this room, and even those of us who already are not youthful anymore, really on in our lives, still think big, go after your dreams, get the skills that will make you unstoppable. And those skills are continuous learning, communication, and a brand of trust. And literacy in all its forms matters. It opens doors.
Amazing, amazing.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tanya and Lisa. That was really inspirational, and so many words to take in and digest, and I hope that resonated with everybody in the audience, and there are takeaways for the students and for us adults that are already halfway through our journey. And I think that is something that was really key that you said. And I know for the students especially, trying to work out where they need to get to, what's their job going to be, what's their future going to be. And what's important to consider is, whilst you make a decision now, that doesn't have to be for the rest of your life. The paths change, the journey goes on, and doors open. The directions that you go in open further doors. So just keep moving, but use your words to express yourself. Very powerful. Thank you very much, Lisa and Tanya. We very much appreciate it.